Good afternoon. Thank you, Autodesk Industry Advisory Board. My name is KHALIL. I'm from Singapore. Today I want to share with you guys, and what's most important today is I'm not selling any product or platforms to the audience today. What I'm going to share is our journey throughout our whole digitalization and innovation. So I will share with you guys not only about building information model, and also how we have transformed some of our work process within the organization with BIM and some of our digital platforms, even with ACC. So again, I said the subject today we are talking about digitalization, innovation, and a quick introduction of my company, Boustead Project, who we are. We are part of larger Boustead Singapore. We have over 2 decades of experience doing design and build in industrial facilities in Singapore. We have a strong track record of 160 over projects. We are also a A1 contractor in Singapore context, so I mean we can build anything under the sun, worth from $1 to $100 billion over of contract worth. Right, so again, in Singapore context, we talk about integrated digital delivery, where digital model or building information model form a base of the collaborative process. So we start off with design, digital construction, digital fabrication, and digital facilities and asset management. In terms of our project implementation, I will share with you guys how we use digital model, how we collaborate effectively and intensively with different digital discipline models, how we use cloud to exchange information with the use of Autodesk Construction Cloud, mixed reality, how we get approval for design and collaborative process between the consultant, client, and most of our subcontractors. AI verification and drones, I'll share with you some of our journey and stories, how we do this and what are the experience we have gone through. Digital project management in how we use lean construction methodology process. And obviously, you have heard a lot in Hong Kong. I understand you have MIC, modular construction. Similar in Singapore, we have DFMA, design for fabrication and manufacturing assembly. So we also have fabrication. So how do we then track some of this using digital model? Inspection form, we have a lot of reports. We have a lot of inspection being done on the ground. How do we digitize this whole process? And obviously tracking of all these processes and equipment on site. Right, I start off with building information model or digital model. I will interchangeably use these two words, right? First, we use it to identify critical phases. Earlier on, we had some rendering session talking about twin motion and Revit. So in the case of today, Boustead project, we use multiple platforms, not only Revit, there's also some other 4D sequence software or platforms that we are using, and increase our productivity, value engineering, and enhance coordination across multiple stakeholders. So a quick example of installation sequence. Earlier on, we mentioned that this is not a CGI where we want a good quality, but rather our installation sequence, we do it pre-construction and post-construction installation sequence, right? So after we are awarded, we will use it to update the construction sequence, allow us to collaborate effectively with multiple stakeholders. These are sample video. If you can see, these are actual videos where we use it to prepare for our tender presentation to prospective client to show them exactly what's critical here is the timeline. If you can see below, there's a timeline here that shows the date, day, when exactly are we constructing. So it gives an assurance to prospective client. How can we build this according to the timeline that we propose? And obviously, you have heard a lot of virtual simulation. We also use it for site safety. In Singapore, there is a major concern at this point of time. After COVID restriction was lifted, there was a lot of incident and cases of workers getting into safety incidents, and there could be a higher case of fatalities. So how do we prevent this? So what we did was we have a virtual simulation. that allows safety workers to articulate and visualize better to workers in terms of the safety risk that is going to be undertaken during the construction or the installation process, right? And this is a term, if you heard of it before, from Stanford University, part of the VDC, Virtual Design and Construction, what we term it as ICE session, Intensive Collaboration, ICP, Intensive Collaboration Period. So what we do during this stage, the moment we were awarded a contract, the building information model or digital model will be used to validate design intent, identify issues early, and get the involvement of all the major stakeholders, including the consultants and the contractors and some of the trade specialists coming into in the early part of this intensive collaboration period where we identify issue early. And then we have integrated concurrent engineering, which is ICE, where we identify issues throughout the whole construction timeline, right? So what we have experienced from all this process, we have become more collaborative. And with the use of building information model, we are able to visualize better, we are able to design and coordinate better, and our decision making are done in a much more constructive and productive manner. So if you see here, in this case, right, it's not just the contractor alone. The consultant, the architects, the structure engineers, the MEP consultants, they are involved. Not only the contractor, but also downstream, our subcontractor are involved in this ICE session. And it takes place weekly or bi-weekly. And just to let you know, most of our projects are in a quick timeline where we are given 20 months on the average to complete. So this ICE session will take place intensively during the first 2-3 months of the project to identify any of these major coordination issues early so that we do not have to do any rework when we start construction on site. Right, obviously we need to have our, what we term it as common data environment, but now we have started to term it as a connected data environment where we will connect with various platforms. So if you see here, this is in terms of our project implementation, how we use ACC. Different project key members, team members are involved in this whole process. So there's a lot of accountability where most of this issue, earlier on I mentioned just now about 2 work process. One is ICP, Intensive Collaboration Period, and then ICE, Integrated Concurrent Engineering. Most of these issues are then uploaded or being done in this similar common data environment or connected data environment. In terms of our digitalization of our inspection process, previously we have 5 steps. We walk the site, we take notes manually, we capture image using our mobile phone, and then we upload the files and create the form manually via Excel forms, via PowerPoints, or even Words. There could even be a template being done. But now we have digitized that whole process where it becomes 3 simple steps. If you can see, walk the site using your mobile phone, and then the digital forms are using the mobile platform that we have. So what we have encountered here today, we start off this whole initiative way back in 2017, and it helps our QA/QC to be much more accountable in terms of the response time from various stakeholders also becoming faster and faster. So again, there's a lot of digital tracking involved, accountability. If not, most of the time we spend our time arguing whose defect is this and who is the stakeholder or the owner of these defects on site. Again, going back to common data environment or connected data environment, today we have implemented, I think as of to date, about 3 to 4 numbers of projects in Singapore itself, where this actually helps our project manager in terms of reporting. Conventionally, traditionally, what they do, again, they collected information or data or pictures from various sources, such as the project engineers giving them images of the construction progress, or even updates on certain RFI or approval process. But today, with a connected data environment or common data environment, they do not have to go through that process, because the moment they log in, they are able to articulate and do the report via this whole platform. So we can see who are uploading the model at different time and what causes some of these issues. So we are able to track, right, some of these project status. Again, in Boustead project today, we understand that we have collected various data, and most of these data are quite silo, and what we are trying to do is trying to consolidate them. But before we talk about consolidation, we also trying to make sure that most of our colleagues and project team members in the organization understand what is data-driven insights, right? We heard a lot of things about data, big data, but today where we come from, given that most of the data are collected on a digital platform, how then we use to communicate, to collaborate and coordinate better and make decisions faster within the organization. If you can see here, these are data that is collected via the platform for us to do defects, right? So what we did was we identify which organization or which subcontractors actually responded fast to close up some of these defects, and we are able to communicate with them and making sure that we review each of these subcontractor performance, right? So this allows us to understand the performance of our partners, whether we want to award them in the next project if we are awarded that particular project. Now, again, let's look at this a sample of how we collaborate online via cloud. So this is again the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Today it can be Autodesk Construction Cloud or it can be any other platform. But what I'm trying to say here, a lot of companies have this mindset or misconception that whenever they wanted to implement building information model, a lot of money is going to be involved in terms of the cost, right? Because they spend their money or the bulk of the implementation on buying the license. Instead, if you have a common data environment like this, you do not need to buy huge number of license, because you are able to, what I term it as, democratize that whole process. If I'm the BIM manager today, right, I would need to access the Revit model, but do I need to model? No. If I'm the project manager, do I need to model? No. So do I need the Revit software? No. What do I need to do? I need to review. I need to coordinate. I need to comment. And this is where you can do it online. So via a platform like this, it allows you to collaborate effectively. It allows you to manage the cost of your building information model implementation. Because one of the key misconceptions that is going to cost you a huge sum of money for you to implement building information model by giving additional Revit or BIM authoring software licenses to those stakeholders which I mentioned earlier, such as the project managers, site engineers. And obviously we talk about documentation. If you can know, I think one of the issue that we face or challenge in Singapore context, I'm not sure whether in Hong Kong do you guys face that, is there's two types of files from various sources, right? So one is AutoCAD.dwg files and the other one is Revit.rvt. But today where we explained earlier on, we talk about a single source of truth. Most of the view sheets come from the building information model, where views such as your elevation section are generated directly from the building information model. This helps you to minimize latency and discrepancy within the project itself, right? So with Autodesk Construction Cloud platform today, or any cloud platform, you are able to view this view sheet directly from the platform, and you are able to communicate and collaborate effectively. In terms of reality captured, just a simple use case here. In fact, we had completed this late last year, 2022. It was a simple A&A job that we were given by one of the MNCs in Singapore, where they have a process plan and they wanted to do addition and alteration to the space. But unfortunately, they have as-built drawing, but their as-built drawing is never accurate, right? A lot of time, even in Singapore context, I'm not sure about Hong Kong again, as-built drawing is never as-built. It was as-design, I guess. So what we did was we used LiDAR scan, right, to identify and what was constructed and what was built. And using the point cloud files, we were able to, again, build up a building information model, and they were able to use this building information model to start collaborating, coordinating, and doing space coordination for their new space for the process plant. And it took us about a month to achieve this, which include the scanning process, okay? In case you guys must be wondering why it took so long, because you must understand this is an operational space, meaning to say they are already in use. People are working there, so we need to take time for them to be out of action, meaning out of work, where it's not operational, and then we start scanning, and then half of the time is taken to develop the building information model from the point cloud files. Again, I would like to share this experience. I'm not sure whether maybe I threw out this question to some of the platform provider out there. There is, again, a misconception that the point cloud files is also a building information model. It's not actually, because from what we gather, we use it. Obviously, you can measure, but there are certain information that doesn't allow you to extract from the point cloud file. So what we did, that's why we need to take a little bit more time, like I said, 50% of the time, to regenerate this building information model directly from the point cloud files, right? So this is the 3-step process that we did with regards to reality capture. In this case, what we did was, it's a 360 photogrammetry. It's also a request. So what's interesting here, 2021, we were in the thick of the COVID action, right? We experienced lockdown, even in Singapore. I think it's global. What happened, one of our clients said that they do not have an overview of the construction site. We were in the midst of completing this project. So they say, how do they then have an overview of the construction site without them going down to the construction site or to the field? So we deploy 360 photo camera and give them the link. They are able to view all this construction progress at the comfort of their seats without leaving their home. Meaning to say, they can look at the 360 photos of the construction site via their laptops, their mobile phone, without the need for them to go down to site. In case you guys are not aware, in Singapore, when we have a site visit, there will be a couple, I wouldn't say a couple of people, but at least 10 to 20 people walking down the site. Now, because of COVID, we wanted to minimize that, and it was not allowed also because of the safe distancing measures that was implemented. So how do we then assure the clients that work are still ongoing, and how do they then view this in the comfort of their home or their offices? So that's what we did. Now, beyond just hardcore software implementation, we are also looking at the, I would say, the culture in Boustead project. Right? Just now, earlier on, I mentioned just now about how do we then use data for decision making, and also innovation and some of these new things within the organization. Again, the why, I wouldn't deep dive into so much of this, but why we have to go through a data-driven culture, because we have collected so much data and we are not optimizing or harnessing the full usage of the data that is collected. So what we want to do today and moving forward is use this for analytics, whether it's descriptive, predictive, and also prescriptive analytics for the organization. So it become a business intelligence tools for the organization moving forward. So this is a sample of a framework. It's just to share with you guys. I'm not shy to say we are working with one of the big 4 techs in the world, and Google is one of them, where we are implementing or doing this, what we term it as a unified data platform for the organization. Right? So you have data insight for the organization, you have data to support decision, and the use of machine learning, where the project digital platform such as ACC will push the data back to this unified data platform. Similar, underlying this, what we need to have is the use of data and making sure we have proper governance of the standards and the data that is being collected, so that people are able to share, people are willing to collaborate more willingly across the ecosystem. We are also the first Queen Bee. What it means in Singapore, there is a government initiative ongoing for the past 4 years, and we are the first Queen Bee in the built environment industry way back in 2021, which I myself participate as a skills manager. Today, we know that if you guys see just now, all this implementation is all not sunshine and rainbows, right? We face a lot of challenge, a lot of experience. And one of the key challenges that we faced was getting our trade specialists and subcontractors involved and be part of this digital transformation. Big words, right? But most of them do not have the skills and the knowledge to undertake this. So what we did was, we, together with Skills Future Singapore, we embarked on a program to identify skill gaps. And we work with companies that is together with us on that particular project. For example, it can be the consultant, it can be the trades subcontractors, where we conduct workshop, right? One of these workshop was data analytics. So when we collect data, most our trade subcontractors are now aware why we collect and why we do this, and they are trained as such. So a lot of engagement workshop was done and facilitated by us to engage them, to make sure that why reskilling and upskilling is important, because it helps them to be more productive, allow them to be more collaborative and connected to what we are undergoing within the organization today in Boustead context. So I like to say that in this case, you know, I like to quote a saying from an African proverb: if you want to go far, right? If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. So I akin this as that, where we bring our whole ecosystem partner together in our digitalization or our transformation journey. And in this case, what is innovation in Boustead? Right? We understand the user-centric approach, meaning to say when we deploy technology, it's not for the sake of just deploying, but understanding what is the problem statement that we want to resolve, what is the issues that we want to eliminate on site, right? So understanding that, taking this user-centric approach, help us to avoid what I call shiny new toy syndromes. And shiny new toy syndrome is some of the things that definitely that is going to drag you and make you fatigued in your digital implementation, because every year there will be new technology, but how then you use this technology to optimize and address some of the problem statement or the challenges that you have in your organization. So we adopt this, what we call a user-centric approach in implementing. So today what we have done, we have BEAM, common data or connected data environment, we have drones, immersive reality, remote collaboration, time-lapse recording, AI, and 360 site progress, as if you can see earlier. And what's next for us, we continue to enhance and improve on our current work process and try to bring on technology that can help us to be more productive and more cost efficient by going robotics, machine learning, clean energy. Today we have alternative energy on site. We are trying to reduce the use of diesel genset generator on site. Digital twin for smart FM, analytics, metaverse, again big words, 5G connectivity will form the bloodline of all this implementation. So these are some of the works ongoing. And part of the innovation is being experimental. You know, there can never be bad ideas. Everything is good ideas. So we try to identify some of these good ideas and shifting the mindset, creating that psychological safety net within the organization, within the project team. So with that, I'd like to end my presentation, and I'll always end with this question to the audience: we be digital by default in our built environment industry. And if you want to connect with me, you can scan this QR code. These are some of the reference where we are featured in online magazine articles and even in Singapore building environment magazines. With that, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for your time.